In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a drag and drop interaction in Adobe Captivate. What I'll show you how to make, I'll demo it first, is we take these ingredients, drag and drop them into a blender to simulate making a smoothie, and then it seamlessly has this neat animation where it says blending, and then the smoothie appears. This is actually pretty easy to do. And the raw file is available for you to try this out yourself. Just look below the video in the description to get a link to this. Okay, so I've already got my project set up with all my images, and I've got two slides here with the text and the image there as well. So the idea is I create the drag and drop interaction, and then this interaction, once successful, will automatically jump to the next slide. The user won't even really know that the jump has happened, and that will allow us to have an image appear once the drag and drop interaction is complete. This is a trick I use pretty often in e-learning. It's easier a lot of the time to have multiple slides where things happen because the learner doesn't necessarily know they're jumping to a new slide. It helps you stay more organized and put your content in multiple places, easier to edit if you do use multiple slides. Okay. One thing I've done is I have named my items down below here in the timeline so it's really clear what each one is. Generally, when you're creating complex interactions, I recommend that you do name your items because if you're looking just at the text later on, it's really clear what they are. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Interactions, Drag and Drop. All right, so there's a wizard that pops up. And what I'm going to do is select the items that I want to be able to drag. These are called the drag sources. And I'm going to add these to a type. This is a lot of text, and honestly, it's a little complicated, the way they explain it at least, but once you do it, it's actually not too hard. So there's no types defined yet. This is basically I'm adding them to a category. So I've selected these. They're in green. I hit plus, and I'm going to call this drag objects. Okay, so that's pretty clear, right? These are the three things I want to be able to drag to the blender. Okay, so that's defined. They're in the category drag objects. Hit next. Now I want to select the drop target. I'm going to go ahead and select the blender. And again, I'm going to add this to a type. We don't have any types defined yet, so hit the plus. And I'm just going to call this the drop target, okay? So now we've got two categories here. We have the drag items and we have the drop target. So you always have to define what can be dragged and where they're going to drop it to. Now you could have other images going on in this slide. It doesn't matter. You just select the ones that you want to be involved in the drag and drop interaction. All right. And you'll also notice that this little submit button has appeared on our drag and drop interaction as well. I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. So last step, 303, we're going to specify correct answers by mapping the drag sources to the drop targets. I want all three of these to be dragged into the blender. So I'm going to actually just click one of these, the middle, and drag it over here to the blender. And these are all three in the same type, but you still have to make sure that they are all drug over so that they're all specified as correct answers. Okay, so each of these has had the center handle drug over to the blender, so we all know that that's going to be the correct answer. So I want all three of these to go to the blender, and once all three are dropped in, the drag and drop interaction will be complete. And you'll see some more buttons or text captions popped up here. Type success text here. Okay, so that is it. We hit finish. Now you can see it here on the main slide. The interaction is set up. And another tab has appeared here called drag and drop. This is where you can make edits to your drag and drop interactions. If you want to edit the drag and drop, as far as I know, you can't re-enter the wizard. You have to kind of edit things manually here. Now, if you remember from our original demo of this interaction, I don't want a failure or success caption, the text caption, the text that pops up. So I'm going to uncheck these two and see those little boxes disappeared. If you want it, you can edit it here. Put whatever text you want. If you don't want it, you can just uncheck this and it goes away. The submit button cannot go away, but I don't want to use it. So whenever there's something you can't get rid of or you can't delete, you can actually just move it off the slide because it is part of this drag and drop interaction. I can't actually get rid of it, but I can move it off the slide and the learner is not going to see it. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to check auto submit correct answers so that when the user drags these items into the blender and all three are entered correctly onto the blender, the drag and drop interaction is automatically going to process, okay? And then you have options. You can have undo, you can have reset. If you have a really complicated drag and drop interaction, you probably want to use undo or reset, because it can be a pain for the user to try to undo something if it's incorrect. But generally, I recommend drag and drop interactions be kept really simple, usually 3 drag items or less. If you do more than 3, it just gets way too complicated. Okie dokie. I am going to check infinite attempts so that if the user wanted to like come back here and try it again, they can. That's totally fine. And I'll actually click reset all if they want to do infinite attempts. This doesn't really matter. I won't demo this, but that's an option for you to decide if you want to do that or not. All right, and on success, I do want it to continue, and that means that it will run to the next slide. So the first thing I want to do is let's go ahead and check and see if this drag and drop interaction is working before I move on and program the rest. So hit play. It's going to automatically pause as Captivate does. You drop in all of these items here. Great. I'm automatically moved on to the next slide, which is fantastic. Okay, so we know the drag and drop interaction works automatically, which is great. Now, on this slide, I've got 2 items already here, the text caption and the smoothie. And you'll see I've actually got them set up so they appear at different times. The blending text caption is 3 minutes long. The smoothie image is 3 seconds long. I'm sorry, I said minutes, I meant seconds. And they are actually in different places on this slide. So the slide's 6 seconds long, blending is 3 seconds long, it disappears, smoothie appears, and that's 3 seconds long. Now, I'm doing this so I can have an animation where this says blending and it flickers at you, and then this disappears and the smoothie appears. So, to make the animations work, click on blending, go to timing, and I'm looking for the flicker interaction. And so these preview when you hover over them. I like this one, I think it's great. And because this image is 3 seconds long in the timeline, I want the effect duration to continue for that entire 3 seconds, so that it'll keep on flickering for 3 seconds when this is on the screen. So that's done. Next, let's click on the smoothie. I want this to kind of like grow and appear from the background, so I'm going to select an entrance animation. Let's see here. So again, these all these all show you how they work. Let's see. All right, this is what I wanted. I wanted to zoom in, so it kind of just appears from the back of the slide. I'm going to go ahead and leave that on the default 2-second effect duration. I think that'll be fine. Okay, so let's see if this entire project works. So preview the project. Okay, so this automatically pauses. I can drop my items into the blender. It continues to the next slide. We're blending, blending, blending. Oh, and there's our smoothie. So there you have it. That's a successful drag and drop interaction coupled with an additional slide to make a fun animation and image appear. Again, this raw file is available for you to try out if you want to try to replicate this, as well as the completed file as well. So you can see an example of the raw files. You can try to make it happen yourself, and then you can see how I built it out in the completed file.